You know, I just realized it's been, a few years since I started making my YouTube channel, since I started building up, adding lick videos, that kind of thing. And it's only just occurred to me recently that I've never really stopped to say hello and to introduce myself and to tell you a bit about myself. So that's what this video is going to be on. It's going to be unusual because I'm going to be talking a lot. That is unusual for my videos. I like to keep things short, concise, and full of information. So, my name's Alfred Potter. I came from Wales. I was born in Wales in October of 1989, and I came to New Zealand when I was 6 years old, so that was 1996. Now my dad, he is a great pianist, he's a great musician, and he was always trying to get my brother and I into music. I took some keyboard lessons. It never really stuck. It wasn't of my own initiative. I didn't really have any interest in it. My brother did violin lessons and, among other instruments as well. But he was very much the same. I mean, he's now a fantastic drummer. He's won all sorts of awards in my country here. So he found his path onto music quite all right. But I didn't start guitar until I was about 17 years old. In fact, I didn't even listen to music, really, until I was about 13. It all started when I got my first PlayStation 2, and I got my hands on a copy of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, you've got to remember, this was 2003, I was 13, and all I had was just awful pop music trash on the radio to listen to. Just terrible, terrible stuff. Sometimes you get good pop music, it's true, but on the whole, it's just unimaginative nonsense, right? And so I started listening to V-Rock, I think was the radio station on Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And I was hearing all this great classic rock and metal, like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, what is this? This is amazing stuff, So I started listening to Judas Priest, started listening to Autograph as well. That one really stood out for me. It had a really fun, kind of uplifting 80s and agreeably cheesy kind of sound to it, but it was good fun, good rock and roll. Now, the guitarist for Autograph was Steve Lynch, who was my first idol. And that's, if you know anything about Steve Lynch, his guitar's always had that zigzag design on it, which he insisted was a cardiograph, but everyone calls it a zigzag, and that's why I've got, that pattern on both of my electric guitars. And so, a few more years went by between the age of 13 and 17, where I was kind of, uncertain about whether or not I was going to take up an instrument. And I started listening to more and more rock and metal bands, and the one that pushed me over the edge and made me want to start playing guitar was Rat. If you haven't heard of Rat, you should probably check him out. And so I was like, right, I'm going to play guitar now. I really want to give this a go. So I said to my dad, I really want to start electric guitar. And, he's been trying to get my brother and I playing musical instruments for years. So no sooner had the words come out of my mouth, we were off down the music store, and he was buying me my first electric guitar and amp as well. Now I wanted a Jackson. I knew I wanted a Jackson because the guitarists in Rat used them, and my idol at the time, Steve Lynch, he was always using Jacksons and Charvels, so I knew I wanted a Jackson. And my friend had advised me, don't get an expensive one first time around, get a nice beginner's guitar. So I got an entry-level Jackson, which was this one right here. It's a Jackson JS1, cheapest one you can get, but it's my favorite anyway. And from there on, it was just me teaching myself how to play guitar. I did have 2 guitar lessons with one of my good friends, William, but mostly it was all self-taught. You can learn self-taught, you really can. You are inclined to make time-costly mistakes, and to often feel like you're going around in circles, but you can be self-taught. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can be self-taught. Alright, and so now I'm still living in New Zealand. I'm in the capital city of Wellington. What am I doing? I'm teaching guitar right here in my bedroom, and I do my online YouTube, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing where that goes. And I'm also working 3 nights a week as a hospital cleaner. Just unskilled work, but it pays the bills for now. Hopefully I can phase that out and focus more on guitaring in the future. And I'm pretty much practicing 4 hours a day these days. Could be more, could be less. And so that's me. Now my influences are, at the moment, I would say, excuse me, Michael Romeo of Symphony X. He's just one of the best guitarists in the world. And I take a lot of my neoclassical stylings from him. I think he's just the best. And then of course you've got Vinnie Moore and Tony McAlpine as well. My first album that I'm very close to finishing, called Argonaut, I base my playing and my melodies and my chord structure, sorry, not chord structure, song structure, very much around the way that Vinnie Moore and Tony McAlpine used to do their earlier stuff. So, like late 80s progressive, sometimes neoclassical metal. Right, let's talk about my gear. I don't actually have that much. I put a lot of emphasis on practice more than having lots of expensive equipment, but my Jackson JS1, absolute entry-level guitar, as I said, completely stock. The only thing I've changed about it is that I went down to the day I bought it, I went down to the local advertising sign writer's place and I got a big blue sheet of vinyl sticker and I just cut it out, stuck it on. Very sticky stuff, this is never coming off. Yeah, nice little cheap way of customizing a cheap guitar. I put 10 gauge strings on this every time. This plays like a very expensive guitar. I set it up perfectly, lowered the strings, intonated it. This is my absolute favorite. I do 99% of my practice on this, and 90% of my album was done with this. So you don't have to have the best equipment in the world, just have a lot of time to practice. Now, the other electric you may have seen me using, but I don't really use it very often in lick videos and such, is my genuine 1980s Charvel, which is a replica. This is a replica of Steve Lynch's signature. Now the body, I got all the parts off eBay. The body is a Model 2, which I think was from 1987. Can't verify that. Stripped it down, sent it off to a professional to get a proper paint job done. Cost more than that guitar. just the paint job, but I was very happy with it. The neck is from a Charvel Model 3M, I think, so maple. And yeah, had this done white as well because this came in black originally. Pickup is an EMG 81. The bridge is a modern Kala 7300, I believe. And I always have this strung up with 9 gauge strings. So that's a little about me. It was about time I introduced myself and said hello. Now I've got to say, thanks very much for watching my videos so far. And I'm going to keep them coming, don't you worry about that. If you want to support me, Patreon style, then head on over to my website, and there's a tab which says support me, and you can enter in just as much or as little as you want as a recurring donation every month. Of course you don't have to do that. You can support me simply by liking and commenting on my videos and sharing them as well. I appreciate all of the help that I can get. Okay, let's get back to the usual videos.